Everyone, I'm going to be reviewing Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Um, Directed by Bob Persichetti, Peter Ramsey, and Rodney Rothman. Produced by Avi Arad, Amy Pascal, Phil Lord, Christopher Miller, and Christina Steinberg. Screenplay by Phil Lord and Rodney Rothman, and story by Phil Lord. Based on Spider-Man and Miles Morales. Starring Shanique Moore, Jake Johnson, Haley Steinfeld, Michelle Ali. I feel so stupid. Mahalash. You know how Ali. You know who I'm talking about. Brian Ty Henry, Lily Tomlin, Luna Laura Vels, John Macaulay, Kimiko Glenn, Nicolas Cage, and Liv Schreiber. Music by Daniel Feinberg and edited by Robert Fisher Jr. Production company by Columbia Pictures, Sony Pictures Animation, and Marvel Entertainment, and distributed by Sony Pictures. Released on December 1st in the Regency Villa Theatre in UCLA, and it was released on December 14th, 2018, United States, running for 107 minutes. And the budget was $90 million, and they got $375.5 million. The plot for this movie is New York teenager Miles Morales struggles to live up to expectations of his father, police officer Jefferson Davis, who sees Spider-Man as immense. Miles adjusts to boarding school as he visits his uncle Aaron Davis, who takes him to an abandoned subway station to paint graffiti. Miles is bitten by a radioactive spider and gains spider-like so I can't even speak. Abilities. Ability. You know what I mean. Similar to Spider-Man. Returning to the station, Miles discovers a super collider built by Kingpin, who hopes to access parallel universes to bring back his dead wife and son, which he blames on Spider-Man. Miles watches as Spider-Man attempts to disable the collider while fighting Kingpin's enforcer Green Goblin and Prowler. Spider-Man saves Miles, but Green Goblin shoves Spider-Man into the collider, causing an explosion that kills Green Goblin and severely wounds Spider-Man. He gives Miles a USB flash drive to disable the collider, warning that a machine can destroy the city. It's reactive. Watching in horror as Kingpin kills Spider-Man, Miles flees for Prowler. As the city mourns Spider-Man's death, Miles tries to honor his legacy, become New York's next superhero. Trying out for his newfound abilities, he damages the USB drive at Spider-Man's grave. Miles meets Peter B. Parker, an older, worn-out version of Spider-Man from another dimension. Upon meeting up, Miles discovers his ability to emit electric venom blasts. Peter agrees to train Miles in exchange to help for stealing data to create a new drive that infiltrates Kingpin's research faculty, and Miles discovers he has the power to turn invisible. They are confronted by scientist Olivia Octavius, who determines that Peter will die by circular decay if he remains in the dimension. Chased through the laboratory and surrounding a forest by Octavius, Peter and Miles are rescued by Gwen Stacy, a Spider-Woman from another dimension. They find Peter's aunt, May Parker, who's sheltering more heroes from other dimensions. Spider-Man, Penny Parker, and Spider-Ham are determining Miles' offers to disable the collider so that others can return home. So the cast, we've got Shanique Moore as Miles Morales, Jake Johnson as Peter Parker, Chris Pine as Peter B. Parker, Chris Pine is the actual Peter Parker who died. Haley Steinfeld is Gwen Stefani. No, that's implementing it. Gwen Stacy. Mahershala Ali is Aaron David's Prowler, Miles' uncle. Brian Tyree Henry is Jefferson's Davis, Miles' father. Lily Tomlin is May Parker. Lauren Vels is Rio, Miles' mother, a nurse. Let's talk about the casting. Shanique Moore was cast as Miles Morales in April 2017, along with Liev Schreiber as the film then unsuccessful main villain. A month later, Mahershala Ali and Brian T. Henry joined the cast as Morales' uncle Aaron Davis and father Jefferson Davis. Respectively. That December, Lord and Miller said that they needed an adult Peter Parker / Spider-Man would appear in this film, a mentor to Morales. Tobey Maguire, who played Spider-Man in the Sam Raimi films, was initially considered to be cast of the Spider-Man, but the idea was dropped so not to confuse the audience with the concept of the Spider-Verse. Jake Johnson was ultimately cast in the role in April 2018. It was also announced that the characters Green Goblin, Kingpin, and Prowler will also appear with their designs based on the Ultimate Marvel comic series. In June 2018, Sony confirmed further casting, including Schreiber playing Kingpin, Haley Steinfeld as Spider-Gwen, Luna Lauren as Vels and as Miles' mother, Rio, and Lily Tomlin as Parker's Aunt May. A month later, Nicolas Cage, John McCauley, and Kimiko Glenn were announced the voices of Spider-Man, Spider-Ham, and Penny Parker, respectively. Chris Pine as the other Peter Parker of Miles' universe, as Oscar Isaac as Spider-Man 2099 were announced in November 2018. Pine was involved in a Ramsey previous film, Rise of the Guardians. Lord and Miller explained that the alternate Spider-Man characters were chosen based on the comics they have read, as well as research they conducted on Marvel Comics, with the intention of including actual characters from the comics who were diverse as possible. As soundtrack, Daniel Pemberton was announced the film's composer in July 2018. A full soundtrack album would be released by Republican Records on December 14th, the day the film released, as created to represent what a teen like Miles Morales would listen to. Artists of the soundtrack is Juice WRLD, Post Malone, Sway Lee, Nicki Minaj, Skay Mask, The Slump, and created to represent what a teen Morales would listen to. Artists on the soundtrack, I already said that, Slump God, Jaden Smith, Lil Wayne, Ty Dolla $ign, and XX Tension. I can't even say that. A separate album containing Pemberton's score was released Sony Classical Records on December 17th. On December 20. Sony Pictures Animation announced an extended play album, A Very Spidey Christmas, based on the throwaway joke at the beginning of the film and considering of 5 Christmas songs performed by the cast members Shanique Moore, Jake Johnson, and Chris Pine. The EP was released on digital platforms the next day. At the box office, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse grossed over $190.2 million in the United States, Canada at $185.3 million, in other territories for the total world gross, it's $375.5 million against a production budget of $19 million. On January 31st, 2019, the film surpassed Hotel Transylvania 2 to become Sony Pictures Animation's highest grossing film domestically, adjusted for inflation. What I thought about Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse, I love this movie. It's such a fun, light-hearted, growing up teen movie that people should watch. People should watch. I think it was just a perfect movie. I mean, we've never seen like this kind of movie before, like the story of Miles Morales. Like, I've never heard of. Well, I have heard of Miles Morales, and I wanted to know more about him in this movie because I am a Spider-Man fan, and I wanted to know a bit more about him. And Ashanique Moore, who played Miles Morales in this film, did a phenomenal job. I think he was probably one of the best things about this. He was just perfect. The direction to this movie was perfect. The animation, it was freaking phenomenal. It was just amazing. It's beautiful. It was just it looked like a freaking comic book. Like you're switching through the pages, seeing like the looks like comics. Yeah, that's what the movie was. It was awesome. And then they had like when the spider senses come out, it like the little line things. Yeah, that was phenomenal. I do love this movie from start, middle, and end. Loved everything. Nothing really negative about this film that I know. It was such a fun time in the cinemas. Just a fun time watching it, having a blast. And yeah, for my score for this film, I'll give 5 out of 5 stars. Percentage, 100%. I know. I'm a big fan of this. Grade, A+ out of 10. 10 out of 10. Thank you for listening to my review of Spider-Man Out of the Spider-Verse. Yes. Peace.